All right, boom, 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 boom. All right, okay, cool. In under 2 minutes, I'm going to explain to you folks a story that changed my life. I was interviewing this gentleman 2.5 years ago for my podcast. He goes by the name of John Henry. And by the end of the show, I decided to say, John, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
If you have 2 minutes to answer a personal question that has nothing to do with the podcast, I'd love that.
Yeah, sure.
He was totally cool with it, and I went on to pretty much ask him, do you think I should drop out of school? Something I was avidly considering at the time. And his answer back never, ever left me, and I hope it never does. He took a moment to respond, and he went on to say, I'm not going to answer that. And he took a long pause before what was about to come next, and I was a little bit shook in that moment of the pause, because I said to myself, man, no one has ever denied to answer a question since I started this show, so I didn't know if I'd offended him. I didn't think I offended him. But I was a bit nervous. And he came back at me and he said, Nick, I'm not going to answer it because by the way you asked it, I can tell you already know what the answer is. And this is where I built on my confidence in my life. I decided to nurture my gut in times when it was ultimately really difficult to, during decisions like this. Pause. Here's the actual clip of what John said.
Yeah, well, the fact that you're asking this question right now to me means that this thought has been bubbling in your mind and it keeps coming back. Right, like that to me is the greatest indicator of listening to yourself, and that to me is exactly what we should do. Right, so and this is just my personal experience, but this is how I nurture my intuition.
When I got off that call, I immediately had this new realization about nurturing your gut. It's something that was never said to me before, and I realized in that moment that confidence was something that you build and nurture, not something that you innately have. And since that day, I listened to less podcasts, I read less books, and I went to less events. All those things changed my entire life. I still go to them, I still do those things. I just decreased the amount in which I do them. And the reason why was because I realized I had such a poor connection to my intuition, to my gut. Almost every majorly successful person that I've ever spoken with, heard about, or heard from, all have this relationship with this thing that they've learned to call their intuition and their gut. It's this thing that they call on during dark and difficult times. And at that time in my life, I had a very poor relationship with that. So I decided that I was going to nurture my gut, stop listening to as many podcasts, reading as many books, and going to as many events as an attempt to gain originality on my own perspective of things. And I've never stopped doing that to this day. And that turned out to be my favorite interview I've ever conducted. If you don't know, the show is called Autographs. It's on Spotify and Apple and all those fun places, but go listen to it. You might like it. Anyways, thanks, John, for the lesson. I just don't think many people are talking about that. Less books, less reading sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. All right, peace.
But